Welcome to the webinar series, The Multidimensional Approach to Building Your Personal Brand. Joining me is a very special guest, a guy that I worked with when I first broke in out of college, David Schindler. In the past, he was at Phillips Arena. That's how I got to know him. He is now the Senior Director, Executive Producer of Event Presentation and Production for the Tennessee Titans. So, David, welcome. How are you doing, man?
I'm great, and you did a great job with my title. It's one of the longest titles in the history of the universe, so nice job on that one.
Yeah, I think if you did like dollars per word in your title, I think you would outpace most of the players. So,
well, it was important. I got a signing bonus for every letter, so yes, it was crucial. I got a long title.
That's great. I love it. I'm kind of jealous. I want a big long title like that too. So tell us a little bit how you got here, how you got to the Tennessee Titans. What was your journey from when you broke in to the industry and where you're at now?
So it's been a long and winding road. I've been in the industry for, since about 1994. So that's 94, 2004, long time, over 25 years. And, it started back in Washington, D.C. area. I'll even go back further than that. I went to Brandeis University, a liberal arts college. As I was approaching my later years at college, I knew I wanted to get involved in production in some aspects. I got an internship when I was in college for a TV show called People Are Talking, which was a basic TV talk show that aired daily. Guy you probably have heard the name of, Tom Bergeron, was the host.
Oh, wow.
Yes, this was before Dancing with the Stars and America's Funniest Home Videos and all those things. He was the talk show host for that. So I cut my teeth in really understanding from a live production environment for that TV show. And then I did another internship for the news department. I really thought I wanted to go into broadcast journalism. And then I graduated college and I applied and got into Syracuse University, the Newhouse School, and really dove into the television, radio, film production department there. Learned about multi-camera, single camera production. Again, I had initially thought I would probably follow the path of news, but I really fell in love more with production. And so I learned the basic editing. Back then, it was not nonlinear editing. It was linear editing, tape to tape. High 8 video cameras. Everything was taped. Nothing was digital. And then I graduated, and I did what I was told I should move to LA. So I moved to LA, and I did anything I could get my hands on. I worked for free a little bit in development, and development is a fancy way of saying in Hollywood, they are the folks who decide what films they are to make. And so I was a development intern, which is a way of saying I read scripts. And so I would go in 2 or 3 times a week. They would hand me 3 or 4 scripts. I would read the scripts. I would summarize the scripts, and I would basically say if I liked it or I didn't like it, or if I liked the writer and I didn't like the writer. And you're really pretty much encouraged to dislike 90% of what you read, because if you like it, then the next person in line has to read it. And so in Hollywood, they have thousands of scripts coming in. So I was reading scripts, and it's fun. Back in the day, I look back and I read some scripts that ended up getting made. Not necessarily by the company I work for, but there was a movie called Don Juan DeMarco that Johnny Depp starred in. That was a script I read. Mrs. Doubtfire was a script that I read back in the day.
So what was your initial thoughts on Mrs. Doubtfire? That's like an all-time classic.
I remember I liked the writer. I think I was reading that script. In development, they're really deciding on A, do they want to option the script? Or B, if they have a script, but they need to get a writer. And I think for that one, I thought the writer was good. And so I think I remember saying this guy was worth like a comedy type of approach. So I remember liking that movie. But I wasn't making any money at the time doing that. And it's funny, the timing of it all was I got another job, a paying job. It didn't pay a whole lot back in the day. This is the early 90s. But it was for a production company that made industrial films. Our primary client was Motorola. So in the early 90s, cell phones were just becoming a thing. As a matter of fact, I remember being in discussions of wanting to do infomercials to try to get more people to buy cell phones, and specifically Motorola flip phones. But the company that I worked for, what we did was we made how to use your Motorola cellular phone videos. So if you bought your cell phone in a Circuit City back in the day, it came with a VHS tape, a 10-minute tape that showed you how to program numbers, how to use your voicemail, all these basic things that everybody intuitively knows how to use a smartphone. But this was pre-smartphone. These were flip phones. Not the most glamorous job, but it paid the bills. And it taught me the basics of production, which was what was important. The basics of budgeting, of putting together scripts, casting. We had to cast hand models, how to dial the phone. So it was helpful in starting my production career in just the how-tos of making films, making video. So I was out there for a couple of years. And the irony of it was I took the job, and a few weeks after I took the job, the production company that I was reading scripts for decided to make their first film, which was a little film called Forrest Gump.
Oh, that one. That did okay in the box office, I heard.
Forrest Gump. I think it won Best Picture, actually. And it was funny. I remember I had an opportunity to become a production assistant for that film. And I ended up turning it down because it required me to go to like South Carolina for a year. And I had just started this other job. And for whatever reason, I decided I wanted to stay in LA and work for this other production company. One of those turning points in the road, but I don't regret. Everything worked out fine. But it is funny how things turn out. If I did that, I probably wouldn't be here today. So anyway, I worked there for a couple of years, and then we had a little earthquake. I didn't like earthquakes much. I decided to move back to the East Coast. I moved to the Washington, D.C. area. My brother lived there. And so moved in with him for a little bit. And I was looking for work. I was getting my name out there, trying to do any kind of production assistant type of work or anything I could do. At the time, the telecom industry, I found myself working for MCI quite a bit, just doing little odd jobs. And I was sending my resume out for work, and there was a job opportunity at a place called US Airways Arena, which was the home arena at the time for the Washington Capitals. And at the time, they were the Washington Bullets. They're now the Washington Wizards, but it was their arena, and it was a job called event producer. And so I found this job. It seemed like a dream come true, and I got myself an interview, and I learned that this job was somebody who basically produced the games from an in-arena standpoint. So during timeouts, what content would you put up on the board? What video features would you do? Anything involved with that. They also had an indoor soccer team called the Washington Warthogs. Anyhow, I came away from this interview and I said, I had to get this job. I wanted this job more than anything. Loved sports, loved TV. This was kind of an ideal job. And frankly, I really wasn't aware there was a job like this, that there was even an industry for producing in-game or in-arena entertainment and production. And one thing I remember, my brother used to go to Capitals games. I think he was a partial season ticket holder at the time. And I remember in the third period, if the team was losing, they would play a clip from Animal House. It's the clip where John Belushi says, "Over." Did someone say over? Nothing is over until we decided it is. And I learned in this job interview that this job was the guy who came up with that kind of stuff, with that content. So I said I had to have this job. I really wanted it. So I left the interview and tried to figure out, what can I do to get this job? How can I stand out for this? So I went to Blockbuster Video. There was a Blockbuster Video right down the street from the apartment I was renting at the time in Washington, D.C. Back in the day, kids, there were these things called VHS tapes. And so,
Yes. And you would go to Blockbuster to pick out, you would go to the new release section all excited to see what was brand new. I remember those days too.
yes. So I was thinking, I remembered that Animal House clip. But what are some other clips that you could play at a game, at a Capitals game or a Bullets game or even a Washington Warthogs game that would rile up the crowd or make them laugh or play in a certain situation? And so I thought back and I came up with a bunch of ideas, and I went to Blockbuster and I rented probably 20 videos. And I went home and I had a little Hi8 camcorder, and I edited a reel from the VHS deck into my Hi8 camcorder and then dubbed it over to the VHS deck. Probably a 3 to 5 minute reel. I did graphics in the camera. I mean, it was really simple, rudimentary stuff. I didn't have a computer that I could edit on or anything like that. Nonlinear editing wasn't even a thing back then. Yeah. And so I did that. I sent in the VHS tape and said, hey, here are some ideas that I came up with of content that I would play at a game. And I ended up getting the job. And I like to tell that story because nobody told me to do that. Nobody said, all right, well, thank you for the interview, Mr. Schindler. Now, please go and come up with a project and see your ideas. They said, thank you for the interview. We'll contact you if we're interested. But I didn't want that. I wanted that job. It was a dream job in my mind. And so editing that video set me apart, and by taking the initiative. And so if I can give one piece of advice to anybody who's looking for work, it's to take that extra step, to take the initiative to set yourself apart. And if you do that, it will absolutely help you land your job. It may not work the first time or the second time, but showing that extra initiative is key. And I will tell you, years later, now as I'm the guy hiring people, yes, I look at a resume. And yes, I look at reels. Reels are very important. But it's really the ideation and the things that stick out, that separate people. Because when you're hiring people and you have a stack of resumes, and even if you have a stack of reels, you have to do something that differentiates yourself. Now, hopefully, your work will be good enough that it will get you to the top of that pile. But even beyond that, it's the initiative, it's the ideation, it's that spark of that person went above and beyond. And particularly if you're talking about entry-level types of positions, you're not going to have a huge reel. You know, you'll have school projects and some things like that, but you're going to need to do something to show that you have the capability to learn. You have the capability to put in that extra effort that may not have been asked of you, that you're going to do what it takes to get the job done.
So in the world of digital editing, what are some things that high school kids that don't have extensive um, reels or resumes, what can they do? What are some types of things you would suggest that they do to separate themselves?
So everybody today has a bit, I wouldn't say advantage, but much more at their hands than I did. There was no YouTube back in the day. There was no TikTok or social media. And there weren't these, okay? Everybody now walks around with a high definition video camera at their disposal. And probably most of you also have a computer that you can edit some pieces on. Mm-hmm. So, if you're interested in production, do it. I suggest you write your scripts, or even if it's sort of improvisationally based types of things, start outlining, start coming up with concepts, and do it. Go ahead and create short films, even if it's using this. This is pretty good.
It's better really than a lot of cameras you get at high school.
Oh, absolutely. I would say shoot it like this instead of shoot it like this, but today this is even acceptable depending on the story you're telling now. But go ahead and just start doing your craft. And I really think writing is important, like putting things down on paper, coming up with ideas, executing them, and then go on to the next one. Keep going for it, because if you do it once and then you hope, well, that's my one piece, that's as good as I can do, you're probably not cut out for a career in having to churn out tons and tons of content. So I would say take advantage of the opportunities that you have. If it's in class, if it's at colleges, if it's extracurricular things, but go ahead in your spare time. If this is your passion, go ahead and do it. Make those TikTok videos, make those YouTube videos, or I say Facebook. Facebook is more for old people like me, I guess. But really use your craft and start doing it. Start coming up with ideas, as outlandish and crazy as they may be. Experiment and go for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creative avenues you can get. I mean, Premiere now has Premiere Rush, which is made for mobile, and it has some of the stripped down capabilities that the real Premiere or the computer version of Premiere has. So there's really kind of no excuse not to have something worthwhile. So let's say, and that's really great advice. I really, just trying to set yourself apart, be adventurous, take chances, take risks. And I really like that. So let's say they get the call, okay? They get to the top of the pile, they get the call. Now they're sitting in front of you in the conference room. What are some things you're looking for? What are some things you're going to ask of them?
So be prepared. Be prepared for the interview. Know who you're talking to. Know the business of the company. Know something about them. If it's the Tennessee Titans, know the history. You don't have to know every quarterback who ever played, but know who the owner is. Know who the president is. Know your basics. Know the person you're interviewing, their title, their function, and just do your basic research. You don't have to spend hours and hours, but if you don't spend the time, if you don't prepare for a job interview, which is crucially important for your career, if you come to an interview and you come across and you don't know the basics of the organization or what the position is, if you didn't spend the time for that, I probably don't think you're going to be prepared for working for me. The amount of effort I would expect from someone to work in my department. So be prepared. If it's a production job, have a reel. Have, even if you don't have a lot, even if it's just some very basic things, I think 90 seconds is a good time limit to aim for, and showcase as much as you can. Showcase what you know. And if it's an entry-level job, it's okay if it's not fancy, but at least it shows you understand basic production. You know what it takes, the basics of production. So those are crucial. When it comes to a resume, again, if it's entry level, you're coming out of school, I don't expect you to have tons and tons and tons of experience, but just make it accurate, make it relevant. There's nothing wrong with if you work for McDonald's, okay? It shows that if you worked at McDonald's and you put in a day's work, you're willing to work, that's fine to put on your resume. But if you have any relevant information or experience, you worked on a particular video project, you had any associated role on any show or movie or anything, just include that relevant information. I will tell you, and some people in their title, they'll put like a mission statement of what they're trying to do. Make it relevant to the position. So sometimes you get people who they'll apply for a job if it's a production job and it's, I want to be the general manager of the Titans. Well, that's really a great goal to have, but that I'm not going to help you become the general manager if you want to become in football operations or if you want to be in PR. I'm looking for production people. That's what I'm looking for. Show me that's your passion. Show me that's your experience, no matter even if it's limited, and make it relevant to that. Don't just try to cast such a wide net and hope that one of these people will be interested in you. And I see that frequently. I see for jobs that are out there, people just have, I want to work in sports. I don't care what it is. And even if that's truly the case, be pointed for the particular position you're looking for and show and make them think that you're looking for a job in your world.
Definitely. I can only imagine the stack of resumes you get that are just all over the place. And I think that's good. Just being focused on what you want, I think that'll help you in the interview. So when you're asking questions, what are some of the common ones that you ask of everyone, and what's kind of the goal behind those questions?
I try to get obviously your relevant experience, but really your passion. What makes you tick? What creatively do you admire, and do you try to be like? I want to know your work ethic. I want to know if you are put out in the field, can you handle it? What relevant experience? Do you know what a boom mic is? Do you know how to record? Do you know those basic things? If it's a more advanced position, I want to see your skill level. That reel is really important. The reel is more important than the resume in my mind. When I'm hiring for let's say it's a associate producer position, somebody who I'm asking to shoot, edit, write, I'll look at the resume. I'll look at the education. I'll look, do you have a degree in it or not? If you have sports experience, it's helpful. But frankly, it's the reel that will catch my eye. Like, does that person know how to make a good edit? Is the sound okay? Is there creativity? If you're doing effects, do you have experience, in After Effects or 3D software or what have you? But spend the time on that reel, make it tight, make it, if you have one thing, if you can make one impression, it's that 90 seconds. And I say 90 seconds, it can be 2 minutes, it could be 60 seconds, but it's not 10 minutes. Like, nobody is going to sit through, and I've gotten this. I've had some people, they don't have a lot of experience, and they're going to show every minute of everything, thinking that the volume, oh, they have 10 minutes worth of stuff. And of that, it's a 7-minute long interview, one-on-one interview with somebody. I'm not looking for length. I'm looking for the best of the best. I want that snapshot to get me interested. Oh, this person understands production. They have an eye for editing, and I'm going to talk to them further. I also like to ask not personal questions, but creative questions. The question I ask every person for every job I ask them what their favorite movie is. I don't really care what your favorite movie is, as long as you have a reason that you like it. Like, is it you like the way the filmmaker tells his story? Do you like the scripting? Do you like the cinematography? Like, what is it about you that makes you tick about that movie, and put some thought into it, as opposed to, oh, I really like Terminator because it's awesome. You know, that made Terminator is a great movie, but just tell me why you like Terminator. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets you thinking critically, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And with a production eye.
Yes.
Because inevitably you're always going to have a style, right?
Look, I think yes and no. Not everybody is this incredible, has a vision, particularly coming out of school. You know, look, ideally artists develop a style, they develop a craft, but I also am realistic. You have to learn, particularly coming out of school, you're not necessarily, you're applying for jobs to get your foot in the door. So it's really about the aspiration to try to be like it. You don't have to say, I want to be the next Quentin Tarantino and make films that way and write dialogue that way.
Right.
But you can admire that and aspire to be that way. I think it would be unrealistic for somebody on an entry-level position, for somebody who has got such an artistic, creative vision. I think it takes time for people to learn what their voice is, what their style is, what works. But if you put some thought into it and you say, I admire this, I like this, it makes me think, oh, this person actually has put some thought into the craft and what they would like to aspire to be.
Right. That's fair. That's definitely fair. So before we let you go, now you're in the business. You've gotten that entry level job. Networking. How has it evolved over time? What are some good strategies nowadays in the digital age of how you can network and meet different professionals in the industry?
So, use your contacts, use any contacts you have. In school, I've met a bunch of people who come in for DECA events or tours or whatever. You know what? Make that extra effort when the bigger meeting is over. Take 30 seconds when it's over and personally introduce yourself. Hey, it was really nice to meet you. What you said to me really spoke to me. Would you mind if I hit you up on LinkedIn, for example? Those kind of, that follow-up, you would be surprised. A lot of people, half of the people right there don't do it. Like half of the people after that meeting, they leave. They're just happy to be out of their classroom for a few hours. And then the serious ones, look, they'll come and they'll talk to you. They'll hit you up on LinkedIn. They'll send you a thank you note. These are small gestures but it's something that you'll remember with if I do have an opening at some point. And then they send you that resume. It's like, oh, I may not really remember who you are, but I remember it will ring a bell to me. And it shows me that they're a conscientious person, that they're serious about who they are and what they want to do. So I'm trying to think some other things from a networking perspective. You know, family, friends are really good. You know, use those. Use informational meetings. Not every meeting is going to be for a job, but do you have information? Do you have advice for me? And most people who have some sort of personal connection will take 15 minutes, schedule some time, give you some advice. And you just want to build your network so that as you put your you make connections here and there. When I graduated college, I hit up as many Syracuse graduates that I could find and got those informational meetings. They weren't always taken, but you build on that, and ultimately you make enough connections that hopefully somewhere it will lead to an opportunity at some point. And every step along the way, you're gracious, you heed the advice, you keep an ear open. Hey, if you hear anything, if you know of anything, and you ask all of them the same questions. Hey, if you were me, what opportunities do you think? Where can I get my foot in the door? You know, in sports, getting a full-time gig in a professional sports organization can be difficult, but it may be a little less difficult to work as a grip for a game or get an internship if they have that possibility. But if you start working part-time, you know what? There's a bit of an in. And if you work part-time and you work hard and you're good at it, part-time work could lead to really good freelance work, and that could be a career unto itself. But you're also building your network there and proving yourself that if a full-time gig comes up, oh, I got that gig. You know what? You've done a great job at that job. You've gone above and beyond, and I'm going to consider you for that. You know, once you get your foot in the door, that's the beginning, not the end. And you really have to work your butt off. Show whoever it is that you made the right choice. And it's really all about effort. Look, you're going to make mistakes. Anyone who says, you know, you start a job and you're not going to make any mistakes is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn. But you have to be accountable, which is the number one thing to me. Nothing gets me more upset when something goes wrong and you address it, and it wasn't my fault. It was so-and-so's fault, or I didn't do that. I want it to be a teaching moment and learn from it and get better from it. And that's what you have to do, is every opportunity you're given, do the best you can. And when you make a mistake, own it and make good on it. And if you do that will catch the eye of your boss or any future employer. Like, that person learned from their mistake and got better from it.
Cool. Well, that's great too as well. I mean, I started out with you down in Atlanta at Phillips Arena. I made plenty of mistakes as a grip, as you know, and some of them were recorded and played back several times in the control room. So I definitely know that feeling. So it's tough. I mean, this business is a grind, and you never know what avenue it's going to take you. It's taken me from production assistant at Phillips Arena to video editor with Yahoo, and now I'm teaching high school level kids how to get their foot in the door, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've got a touch of editing. I still do things to keep myself sharp, which is also that's also important in my mind, is just trying to keep yourself sharp, even if you're not necessarily in that world full time. So And I think I've definitely gotten better as an editor because of that. And because I didn't put it down when I left Yahoo, I kind of just kept going and just kept learning the new software. I think, and you may agree, always stay prepared for, be where you're at, but stay prepared for the next opportunity is kind of what I preach.
Oh, sure. I mean, in production, I mean, if we're talking production gigs, definitely, you know the software, be able to edit, and sure, keep up with the trends if you can. As an older person now, it's harder for me, just keeping up with all the different avenues there are and how you're producing pieces and who your audience is now is different than it was, a couple of years ago. It used to be, you were creating 30-minute TV shows at a minimum, or if you were doing events. Now it's 15-second or 10-second TikTok videos. What are those types of things? So keep up on all that, and I would say most importantly, you have to love it. You have to, whatever you want to do, and then this is a bit cliche, but I think it is so true, that do it because you love it. And that should drive you. If you love it, you want to get better at it. You want to be the expert at it. Work your butt off to become great at it. And then the money will come from that. Don't say, I want to do production or I want to do sports because I think there's a lot of money in it. Unless you're one of a very small percentage of athletes who are so good that you can be making millions of dollars. The reality is, early on, you're not going to make tons of money. You gotta work hard. You got to get really good at what you do. And once you do that, then the opportunities will open up for you, and you'll be able to make a decent living.
All right. So, David, as we wrap, how can we reach you?
Oh, geez.
For advice.
Oh, never mind. No, he's kidding.
I gotta go.
LinkedIn is good for me. I think from that is a professional. That is the professional social media outlet. When people hit me up on that, I will generally accept those if there's, hey, I saw your webinar, or I know you from this or that. I think that is a good way. You could also send me an email, dschindler@titans.nfl.com. I'm happy to answer an email as well. I would not say like a Facebook. Facebook for me is my actual friends and people I have existing relationships with. To me, that's a personal social network as opposed to a professional one. So I think those would be the best ways.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. Thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. And if you've ever been to a Titans game, know that this guy is behind it all. It's before you got here to since you've been here, it's been a drastic change. I've noticed it. I've seen the Atlanta Hawks Phillips Arena flair to it. Only I can recognize after being a part of it. But I mean, you've done tremendous work here since you've been with the Titans, and I wish you all the best. And David, we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it.
All righty, thank you. That's David Schindler.